Are you looking to expand your mind? Do you like to challenge and be challenged? Looking to improve yourself and share your experiences professionally and personally? You're in the right place. Welcome to ScoutCast, Roasting Marshmallows, with your host, Rolf Surd.
And we are live. Welcome to the 10th episode of ScoutCast, Roasting Marshmallows. We have been spending 10 nights in the dark woods of the IT industry, roasting marshmallows, trying to make sense of the surroundings. I'm joined today by three of my colleagues, Henk, Panche, and Arno, and we will be discussing our salaries with you. Recently, FourScouts decided to unify salaries across the board, and we all make the same amount of money. And I guess we're just going to be explaining the pros and the cons and why we chose to do so. So welcome, guys.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
How are you feeling about the 10th episode?
I'm even celebrating with a beer today because I think it's...
I'm celebrating as well.
When we started this, we didn't know if this would actually be fun for us, but I think we actually... At least I'm having a lot of fun.
Yep. Panche, what about you?
You're muted, Panche.
Oh, you're muted, man. So, Arno, maybe you can take it over, man.
Yeah, I think
10th
it's pretty
episode.
cool.
Yeah. How many episodes did you...
I think 5, maybe 6, I actually don't know. Well, maybe even 4.
Okay.
I think we should count that one. But I think it goes better each time.
Nice.
The pressure is
Yeah,
off.
cool.
You get more and more relaxed.
Exactly. Getting more natural with the microphone.
Yes.
Just,
and I think the wine helps, but I'm not sure.
Are you actually
you guys hear
drinking
me
wine
now?
right now?
Mm-hmm. For sure. Celebration, huh? 10th episode, so I'm totally
Can you guys hear me now or not?
Yeah,
Yes.
Panche, welcome.
Look at that technology. So, but I wasn't sure. What are we celebrating? Are we celebrating the 10th episode? Or are we celebrating the what is it? Unification of salaries.
I think both.
Yeah, for me it's both, yeah. I don't know. Maybe you guys dropped a bit in the salary. I don't know, actually. But
Yeah, man.
Well, I think it's an interesting story, right? Because, I joined FourScout about a bit more than 3 years ago, like just after Arno joined. And we experimented with a lot of different ways of salary negotiations, right? And we had you need to build a case for yourself and present to the whole company. And then if your colleagues approve, then you get a raise. And we decided later on that the company should decide how much we should all earn. And we also tried that. And now we are trying this new way that we all earn the same.
yeah, so the previous approaches didn't really pan out super positive, right? Like I can remember like a presentation of like 24 slides why some guy needed to earn an X amount of money and, you know, backing everything up with numbers and hours worked and all that kind of stuff. Like how did it make you feel?
Actually, I was
How
kind
did
of
it look
impressed.
like?
Personally, I was pretty impressed that the guy would go so far, like build 24 sheets, do all the investment, and like stating why you should make more. I thought it was kind of cool, actually. I'm not saying it's the way to go, right? Because it's also like if you can sell yourself better, then you earn more, and I think that's not necessarily correct.
Did you? I don't know if we ever discussed this because I remember we had this discussion on salaries and how it should be evaluated like a couple months ago.
Mm-hmm.
But now this gave me an idea. What about if your colleagues need to sell you why you should earn more? Was that ever tried?
No.
I don't remember.
I can't remember such a... No.
And I think we are going to try this now in a different shape, right? Like with this monthly bonus.
Oh, yeah,
but
true.
but indeed for the salaries, we never tried.
Maybe you should explain the monthly bonus part.
Yeah, so the idea is that we have an X amount of money set aside every month for one employee to earn if he stepped up this month, right? Went the extra mile, like outperformed the rest or outperformed himself, I guess would be a better way to put it, because it's not, I guess it's not a contest, right? It's just a reward system for someone who went the extra mile. And then like the team members can vote like, okay, who gets it this month?
Yeah. And you cannot vote for yourself.
Yeah.
So basically, if Rolf did a lot of podcasts, we think his value was great, we can all vote it for Rolf to get the monthly bonus for that month, of course. And then and every month we go to this discussion again. who did the best according to each other's eyes.
And so the first thing that comes to mind, right, is like how, like, are people going to gamify this? Like, oh, let's just have like a roulette in place, like, you know, month 1 this guy, month 2 that guy, and just like circulate it around. Like, I mean, that's obviously all right going into the negative of it, because the concept is pretty cool, right? Reward, you know, extra behavior, but it is going to get gamified at one point, I think.
Well, I think that is the one of the downsides of actually getting everyone to earn the same. In theory, I mean, it's been also proven in practice that it doesn't motivate. It doesn't stimulate, better words, discovery and entrepreneurship and doing risks. Like, why would you do more if you're going to be paid the same? So in that sense, we're entering a bit of like an interesting domain, and we're doing a conscious, experiment for now, I guess, with ourselves, and a way to kind of stimulate some of that spirit of doing more and doing extra, and is that monthly stimulative bonus, and then let's see how that pans out.
So you think people will do less, actually, like the whole organization would flat out?
Well, I cannot quote exactly studies, but what I know is that most of the work always is done by a handful of people in a lot of organizations. And if you so let's say in the music industry, right? There's so many artists, so many bands, but only handful of them, like very small minority of them, actually produce these hits, and they make huge amount of monies. And now let's say that you want to stimulate all of the industry to earn the same. How would that stimulate creativity? And I think this same thing is in the business, in the companies, that can have detrimental effect on people.
Yeah, but if we stay at the music industry, like, let's say, you know, I'm streaming a song of Justin Bieber, or I'm going to stream a song of Michael Jackson. Like, do these streams cost the same? Like, do they give the same revenue for these artists, or is the Justin Bieber stream worth more money than a Michael Jackson stream? Because at the end of the day, me as a consumer, I'm enjoying the music.
Right, and then you decide who earns more, right? Because that's the way also the platforms work. The more you stream, the more music you stream from one artist, they get more benefits out of that. More, they get paid more. But then what if that platform decides, well, it doesn't really matter whose music gets streamed, how much, everybody gets the same? Would that stimulate people to go to that platform? Especially people who are potentially being listened by millions and millions, and then you have also people who are never being listened.
Well, I guess it depends, right? I mean, if you take Jay-Z, he put up his own streaming platform because Spotify wasn't probably interesting enough for him. So there's still stuff like that going on as well.
Yeah, correct. So you're that is the point that I'm trying to raise, right?
Yeah,
People will leave and find other ways how their hard work and their popularity or whatever will get.
No, but I think it's
they will get direct benefit out of it.
and I think it's the comparison is also, I can understand it, but I think it's also different, right? Because I don't know if I agree that if we earn the same, some people are going to be less entrepreneur or less creative. I think it's also about like removing roadblocks, right? Removing useless discussions about, oh, that guy is earning more than I do, or oh my goodness, I think I should earn more, but why that guy earn less? Like, no, we just all earn the same. And I think that is indeed the downside of like, okay, I earn more now and I don't actually need to do anything. But I don't think it happens when you have a team that is actually has a purpose. I think everybody wants to achieve that. And the salary thing, if all earns the same, just becomes like an enabler rather than a roadblock.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Arna,
definitely reduces the noise.
Arna, you're muted.
So I think it also brings sort of a pressure, because what if you're the one in the team that might be the weakest link, and then boom, you earn the same salary.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
would you feel
you
pressure?
have to step up your game. Yeah, I think so, because salary is something like a reward for your work done, or at least for your in Z.
Because you say you're the weakest link.
I'm not saying I'm
How
the
do you
weakest
know
link.
Yeah, we
I
are.
think
we
you
are.
are, but that's a different discussion, man. Let's not go there now.
Apparently,
Well, you said
bunch
if
of
you know
think
that
you
you're
are.
the weakest link. But that's the point, right? How do you know that you are?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah,
and this is what I kind of like, at least for our team, is that because we're quite a compact and small team, we know each other quite well. I do believe that everybody would have a bit of that feeling, and that's actually the right approach to it. It's not like thinking, it's not the right thought. Oh, because I'm performing well, and then people are being brought up, and then it's like everybody has a bit of that imposter syndrome that now I need to do better. Now I need to do better, and I think that is like the right motivation to go with. The question is, if you scale this out in a bigger organization, how could that work? Can you scale this out?
I don't see why not, actually. Why wouldn't it?
as long as the type of work that you do is interchangeable, and you do the same type of stuff, then I don't see why not, for sure.
And if the values match,
Yeah, and I think if it's not, it's because you don't have the right people on board, and then that's
right.
okay, right? It solves itself.
But isn't this whole concept of the same salary also why they make I don't know the English term for it, but the CAOs here in the Netherlands? Like you have a certain function and you get put into a certain scale, and then everyone that's in that scale makes the same amount of money a year?
Yeah, but that's not true, right? Because the scales are up for debate each time you have a discussion with your boss.
So you can negotiate yourself to go up a scale,
Yeah.
and then your direct colleague doesn't necessarily have the same negotiation skills. Like, is
Yeah,
that how?
of
Because I've never actually been
Yes,
into
for
a
sure.
CAO situation.
It's actually the way to keep people down, to be honest.
Really?
Well,
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
it's the differences in salaries come mostly because of how people negotiate for their salaries, and it's good if organizations try to, well, I don't know if it's good to flatten it as much as possible, but the biggest discrepancies come out of that. Like, okay, you really need somebody, right? And that person really wants to earn more,
Mhm.
or they leave because they have a better offer. Like, okay, it's up to that organization to decide what am I going to do. So it's going to be quite interesting to see that also with us playing out in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think
Our-
there is also
our-
like the other side of it, right? It's like those are very hard to solve, and we had this discussion internally several times. Like, some of us like to start things, and it's very important to start things because then we can try. And some of us are not so great at starting, but are great at executing and keeping things up. And then I think that's the composition of a team that is important. You don't want everybody to be great at the one thing, right? And I guess who is more important, the person who starts or the person who keep it? For me, it is both.
Combination.
It's a combination,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But then I think the market values more people who start rather than the people who keep it. Somehow, that's the sentiment I have.
Yeah, the
I'm
silent.
not so sure, because you have also quite like managerial roles in organizations who are basically generally people who are running stuff. They haven't initiated it. But the thing is, if an idea, like somebody starts up, like an entrepreneur or a creative person generates an idea, and we generally tend to hear about the ideas that have succeeded, and that's why it's valuable, because if an idea pans out and it succeeds, and it's like makes millions and billions of in profit,
Mhm.
and that's why people value that. But you have, for each one that succeeds, there's like hundreds that didn't, and that's a painful process, and that's maybe why those are valuable. Whereas people who are already maintaining or implementing an idea that has succeeded, it's a more safe situation to be in. It's a more risk-averse situation. So maybe that's why they're maybe less valuable.
But like,
The risk that you take as a manager versus the risk that you take as an entrepreneur is like completely different.
but like I have a question to you guys in the sense of like, for example, Rolf is the oldest employee of FourScout, and then there is Pancha who just joined. Like, do you guys feel that even though you agreed already, like, but we literally just came out of a meeting that we agreed that this is gonna happen, right? Is like, do you guys feel different somehow? Like that this is going to change the way how you're going to work or how you're going to perceive your colleagues?
Well, for me, it's not going to change how I perceive my colleagues. I always thought myself as being equal to everyone else in the team.
You hate them equally.
even equal to the big man Sylvester himself, right? I never really thought of him as my boss or whatever, just like a colleague who just happens to make different decisions than I do. So no, not on that level. But yeah, it does change for me. Like I also said earlier, that I feel that I do need to step up a little bit in terms of making an effort in trying out new things. We already said, right? Trying new things is important, but also executing on existing things. I do think that every area I probably need to step up a bit somehow, and that's going to be interesting to see. What I can come up with.
So that's a pressure that the salary puts on you.
Yes, I feel that because I'm doing certain work and that had a certain compensation attached to it, and now the compensation rises. For me, in my case at least, and then I also feel that I need to, put, to counterbalance that. I need to make an extra effort.
But it's not about the same salaries, right? This is about you getting a raise or going up.
Yeah, exactly. Because usually how it is that you do work and you get a certain salary and you're like, man, I feel that I should earn more. So then you already feel that you've put in the extra effort, and then you go to your boss and say like, hey, I'd like to get a raise because I did this and that.
Yeah.
But like in this case, like it's flipped around. Like I'm getting a raise. Okay, cool. So now I feel I have I have to get my hands dirty. Yeah, exactly.
Well, but because you said something briefly right before we had this discussion, like when we were discussing the actual story, which happened half an hour ago.
Yeah.
You said something. Okay, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yep.
But actually, I think it's actually the other way around. It's like when you assume a great responsibility, when you are responsible for something, people recognize that, and that is what earns you the power. So maybe in this case, like what Enrique said, you've been working with this organization, this company for the longest of us. You've seen it through thick and thin. You've seen it through everything. It's like, well, maybe that says something, and that earns something, and that is
for sure.
Yeah, but then you're stating that a few years gives you extra
exactly
more respect or something. I don't agree on that, to be honest.
No, me neither. I think it's it's not as easy as that, right? Because I've been working also in other companies that people work there for 20 years, and I'm like, man, you should be gone like 20 years ago actually.
Should be fired after your trial period.
Exactly. So it is not that easy.
But look, because because in my roles, I've always valued people's loyalty. But the truth is, if you want to rise in salary, you need to switch companies.
Yeah.
Mostly, yes.
Mostly, yes. That's the thing. You're gonna switch company, you rotate every few years, and that's like what helps your salary level rises. And to me, that was very
weird, right?
Yeah.
Well, I thought really like that's really negative, and I've tried to do everything to reverse that in the past in the organization where I worked for. It's like, okay, we need to value people that we have on board. We need to value people that are loyal. So that's one thing, and I'm totally for it. On the other hand, when you switch organizations, you gain more. Well, there is the risk factor attached to it, right, for yourself, but also you gain more experience. So I don't necessarily. So when you get hired by a company. I've asked myself, what is more valuable? Is it for somebody who to stay, or to get completely somebody new with a new perspective, with new fresh ideas, and who has had other experience than our experience?
Both have their merits, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
I guess it depends on which stage that's why your company is.
Yeah.
And I do agree, like, let's say you're working at a company for 20 years and you're doing the same stuff year in, year out, and like you're not improving yourself or you're not improving the company, and you're just like, going through the motions and whatever, then it probably doesn't make sense to reward that loyalty, because then you're operating like from some sort of comfort zone, from sort of safety, and then, that might not be worth it to go to up those salaries. So it's, I do think that people need to improve themselves continuously.
So
For sure.
I do have another question. Because we're in the same salaries, right? To all of you guys, I just wonder what your views are. So we earn the same salary. And it's not, let's call it not per se low, on the low end. So what happens if we scale, I don't know, to 20 people, for example, and we hire a secretary who earns like, I don't know, less than us usually.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do?
I
Do you think they should earn the same salary or not?
I think if she matches the values, she matches the culture, I think she should, yes. But then, of course, I want her to do very well, right? I mean, she has to be she has to be like what I consider ourselves like really good at what we do. So that means I would expect her to be really good what she does.
So why do you expect the secretary to be a she, by the way?
Yeah,
You don't want a male secretary? Well, let's not go there, I guess.
because you're in a diversity and we actually need a woman in this team.
Yeah, maybe we should.
So if you want to work with us and you're a woman, let us know.
Yeah, man.
And if you're secretary,
here. Yeah, so I find that an interesting discussion, right? Because it's definitely it's going to be hard to explain, right? When you have like different types of responsibilities and different types of jobs to have the same salaries, it's an interesting experiment for sure. But it's going to be it's definitely controversial, I think. Do you guys have any companies that do you know any companies that do that actually?
Yeah, I saw one
where
guy.
like the cleaning people make the same amount of money as management.
I didn't hear them that they make the same money, but they have definitely the lowest income. They are the same. So like they have they have a how do you call it? Like a floor.
Yeah, so they go back to the scaling thing.
Yeah, but at least even the lowest salary is very high.
Yeah, they have like a threshold, and like if you're in the company, then you're at least at that threshold.
Yeah, and that threshold is higher than normal. So let's say if you're a secretary, you would earn like 3 times there than if you'd earn somewhere else.
But then it's still it's not the same salary, right?
No, correct. So
you
but
still have the
like,
skills.
I think the difference to us is we are, let's say we put the label secretary or we put the label consultant or developer, but at FourScout, this label doesn't exist. Like you play several roles, you play several activities, and that's what we would be expecting from her. So let's say if she would think like, oh, I'm just going to pick up the phone and make some appointments. No, that's not the only thing you're going to do. You're going to have to be part of this team, and that means you're going to have to do more the same as we do, right? So I think that's why
join a podcast or something.
Exactly, she would have to record podcasts, become video editor. I don't know, but I don't see her as only being a secretary.
Yeah, okay, so she still should
or him,
salary.
man.
Yeah, but that's the part I think that what we also touched it briefly a few minutes ago is we're probably never going to hire a person who would just do that, right? They will really need to fit how we work, and this is why this works for us, because we're still a small group and tightly knit with one another and kind of know our ins and outs and our weak spots and our strengths, so we can play out of that and help each other on that. But Arno is talking about like a scaling up to 20 people, and like to scale to 20 people that have the same values. That's going to be very, very challenging. So I'm like really interested how that will develop.
I don't think I would compromise on those values. I mean, and it has been proven through the 3 years that I'm there. All the interviews
I think that's
we
a
have done.
new podcast, man.
Yeah, that is true. That's another podcast.
That's a big story there.
Yeah, but the thing is like if I bring a little bit of my experience in the past, I actually quit a job once because the company hired a senior developer where I was not even considered a mid-year, and I felt that I was more skilled than him, and I just couldn't stand.
But you felt like it, or were you actually better?
No, but was it the title, or was it also the associated salaries?
Associated salaries, yes.
Right, so because the title doesn't really...
Yeah, that didn't matter to me, but the fact that he would earn like way more than I did, and he could not get the same amount of job done or the same quality, that I couldn't understand that. On that time, I don't know if today would be the same, but on the time, for me, I was like, that's a no-go.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to the secretary question, right? Because I think it's an interesting subject. So why as a company, like if you're the boss of this company, why would you pay the secretary the same amount if you can get it way cheaper?
I think you wanted to have more dignity, right? Give that person and your team, take the money out of the discussion.
That's a really good question, Arno.
Yeah,
and maybe
like what's in it for the...
I think we missed the person here who should answer it, right?
Yeah.
Because that to me would be like weird, right? Because if you have like a lot, let's say you need 10 secretaries on 20 people, then it's going to be pretty expensive.
Yeah.
Well, but that's the thing. What I wanted to say earlier when the question went, okay, should we pay that person? If we can afford it, yeah. But then the question is, what does it mean to afford it?
Yep.
Yeah, that you can pay her salary and not be in trouble.
Right, but again, being in trouble, what does that mean, right?
Yeah, like
That's
closing your
very-
books and negative.
Yeah.
Well, what should the company make profits?
Yeah,
Like,
I
which
think so.
profit should that be? Yeah, right.
But
so,
like-
so we're.
But
we're
what's
gonna
the
go into
approach,
the
right?
Details.
Like, what's the approach to hire someone? Because like usually you're going to hire a secretary because like other people are spending time doing stuff, and then they can spend their time doing other stuff, being more productive for the company, make more money for the company, and then that secretary is then worth that money that he or she, enables the other guys to do, right? At least that's how I usually see it. So usually, like, the phone would ring, and then Sylvester has to pick it up. And then if Sylvester is all day on the phone calling, he cannot, actually generate new money. Then, okay, I'm going to hire a secretary because, like, if she's going to spend 2 hours on the phone, and I can spend 2 hours somewhere else, and that's extra, like, more money for the company. At least that's how I usually saw the trade-off.
Just for the listeners, Sylvester is our boss.
Yeah. Yeah, they know, man.
Okay.
Lawyer.
Apparently
Maybe they
also
just
our
tuned in.
secretaries.
Exactly. And he earns more money than us, so the secretary earns more money than we do.
Okay,
And
so
I've heard from reliable source that he's also the company mother, but we'll have a different podcast about that later.
I think you're gonna be fired after this joke.
okay, so I want to go further. Right? So let's say you say it should be okay with the company books and should be financially fine. But what if, because we pay that secretary that amount, we are still okay-ish, but we have a sacrifice on the quality? Because maybe for that amount we could have hired 2 secretaries.
Wow.
Then what?
Then you are talking about like quality of work or what? Like it's
I don't know. Maybe not necessarily saying that if you pay somebody a certain amount, they will deliver that amount more than the others do. So let's say a person makes 2K, they share our values, and we pay them 4K because that's our same salary, whatever. But it doesn't necessarily mean that if we hire 2 people from 2K, they deliver twice as much.
Well, maybe you should look at it this way. Maybe if you hire somebody, you find somebody who is better, that can do more job, then maybe you should replace that person.
Yes, exactly. And I don't think that the job is about like it's not about the output after all, right? It's about what is the outcome that this person is bringing, and or the role is bringing, not the person, right? And if that roles we have, doesn't have enough to do, or that means you need actually hands, then you should automate. We should figure out a way to automate ourselves, and then and then maybe that person should just be an outside company that we hire, not a full-time employee that we actually can take care on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so then we're going more towards like outsourcing activities.
So we should outsource Sylvester. That's what I'm hearing.
Could be.
But that's interesting, right? Because you said like, we're talking about values and stuff like that. But once you outsource, you're throwing values. You're not throwing them out of the window, but like an outsourced company is not going to have the same values as you're going to have, right? So
Yeah.
When is it okay
you're
to
just hiring
outsource?
services, right? It's like
Yeah.
hiring accountants.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they still
So,
should share somehow your values, right? Because I think it's like this whole thing with Nike and Apple, right? Like they say they care for the environment and for people, and they hire this Chinese kid factory somewhere in China. I don't know if it's true, but that's what I read somewhere in this sensationalist blogs. And in the end, you say something, but you do something else. So I get the question of Rolf.
Yeah.
It's like it has to match, even if you outsource it.
Yeah.
Well, but that is with anything. I mean, if you're going to work for a client, right? Your values to some extent cannot be in complete counter to their values, or even when you hire a person to work for you, the values need to be more or less aligned. Well, it will apply the same thing with hiring external help.
Yeah.
It cannot be. You have completely opposite values. Somewhat they need to be aligned, and maybe you should go deeper into okay, what do you want to have aligned? But
Yeah.
So, and what would another positive outcome of having the same salaries across the board have, apart from taking salaries out of the discussion? Like, what can a company gain by doing this? Like, what's in it? What's in it for the big man?
For the big man or for the company? Or for the customers?
For the company. I guess the company is all of us.
Yeah.
Well, let's first do it for the company. Then we can do afterwards for the customers, because that's actually also pretty interesting.
Well, I think for the company, it means that... Yeah, I have no idea. I think we just get more connected, right? It's like... I honestly don't know. And it's...
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, for me, it's just reducing noise, I guess, right? I mean, because every single year, it's like, okay, man, we need to have this salary discussion again. And like, okay, how much, you know? And if you don't bring it up, then the boss is probably not going to bring it up either. And then like, you're going to, like this endless loop of crap. And yeah, to me, this is actually pretty cool in terms of reducing noise and just me being able to focus on the actual work rather than career progression or whatever. So that's pretty good.
But then, like,
So
but then how would you feel? Because let's say, okay, being a bit for transparency's sake, like, yeah, Rolf step up his salary, right? So then that means then, like, for people who didn't step up their salary, stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you feel unfair to them, or do you feel it's the same?
Well, you know, I'm all for everyone making a shit ton of money. So, and like to me personally, I never really cared that I made a bit less than you guys or than a bit less than anyone, because there's always someone out there making more money than you are, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe if you're Warren Buffett,
That's the
or
problem,
if you're,
man.
if you're Elon Musk or something, then you know probably that's not the case. But in our case, yeah, there's always someone making more. So I've chosen to just not care about that, and like, yeah, man, I'm comfortable with my salary, and you know, I'm not in any debt or whatever. So yeah, I was cool with it. So in that light, I don't feel bad for you guys either, because
You know what
I
they
know
make,
that-
huh?
I know you guys are pretty comfortable as well. Although, Henrik, you're recently divorced, so I cannot really comment on your situation right now. But I know that you guys are all pretty goddamn comfortable anyway.
Hey,
so,
man, I have 3
nah,
kids,
I don't
man.
feel too bad.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
But I think, like,
Yeah.
going back to your question, right? Like, okay, for the customer, what I think is if we have less noise, if we have less discussion, yeah, we have more free time to basically think how we solve the problems for our customers. And I think there is a lot of value in that. Every discussion we don't have to have, that means we can focus on them. And I'm all up for it, right?
yeah.
And to me, like one of the other, sorry to interrupt you, Pancha. I just wanted to make one more point about like my salary versus, you know, colleagues, because at my first job, like every year we also had the salary discussion, and then the manager would say like, yeah, you know, I have a budget of this much to divide amongst you guys in terms of a raise. And then it, you know, becomes a battle. Like, okay, you know, if I get $100 extra, it's gonna probably take out like my team members all have to get, you know, $20 less because, you know, it has to go to me. And then you're almost in like this kind of battle with everyone else to get the biggest part of the pie, which to me is like a total stupid conversation, right? You want to talk about individual quality.
You should have fired the manager, man, and divide his salary.
Yeah, probably. Probably. So that's what I like about this, at least. So yeah. So sorry, Pancha. What did you want to say?
What I wanted to say is that the biggest outcome is like you take that discussion off the table, and then it's. I'm pretty happy with these arrangements, but I'm in the same time thinking, okay, how would this progress? Because it's a bit of an experiment. Like we're going into sort of uncharted territories with ourselves, and we're being in this podcast completely, well, as open as we can be with it.
Yeah.
So we're also looking for feedback and opinions. Do see a potential discussions, and that's probably good, and challenges the moment you want to grow, the moment you want to scale up, the moment you want to hire new people on board. How would that work out? Like how are we going to onboard other people, and how hard are we gonna stick to our policies and to our values, not just in terms of compensation, but also in terms of what we need as a company.
Yep.
Yeah, I think actually that is interesting because I haven't thought about that angle yet. But let's say we're gonna hire a new person, right? It doesn't have to be a secretary, but let's just say another consultant like we do. And this person come and say like, yeah, I want to earn more than what you guys all do. And then you say like, oh, this is all our salary. We all earn this same. So it's give it or take, like take it or leave, right? And then they will like, yeah, I don't want to earn the same. Then it's like, then leave, right? So it kind of filters the whole discussion too. There is no per se a negotiation.
Or alternative is we all go up as well.
Yeah, or we all go up as well. But then we all...
So we need to find more people that earn more than us. Right.
Okay, that's not that hard. No, but then we all know the state of the company, right? We all know the profits, the loss, and the revenue. So that means we can make the calculation ourselves and decide like, do we all want to go up or do we want to tell this guy sorry then? And I think that discussion makes also much easier to have.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So a friend of mine, he has his own company, and he always said, like, you know, I'm okay with a low base salary and just get paid on my like performance, like every month, like a variable salary. So then you can also like have the same base salary across the board, and then have like, you know, okay, I made, you know, this amount of money this month for the company, so my salary is, you know, 7,000 or 6,000 or whatever. How would you guys feel about that type of construction?
I actually dislike that. Yeah.
Yeah. Patje, what about you? You're a bit silent. I'm seeing you thinking.
I am thinking. I think that could be also an interesting approach. Because
he's more in the sales type of field, by the way. So I guess that makes a bit more sense for sales types of guys. But I mean, we are also doing like hourly stuff from time to time, where we generate money by the hour.
No, but that is the thing. It's Then you go really. It feels like that model is really directly more embedded with the health of the company. So you have like a base thing and everything above that, and the base is like low, right? But everything above that, if you have a really good month, then like your salary can be quite high. If you have a bad month, then your salary will be low, and maybe that also works as a stimulation for everybody to have more of that hustle spirit and just like, let's get things done. So I don't know. Let's see how this equal salary work out. Maybe this could be another model to try out.
Yeah. Who knows? Okay.
Yeah, so basically 1 year time, we're going to have another podcast talking about how did they actually make us feel. But then I would say like, what would be your guys' prediction? Like if you have to predict how this is going to be in 1 year time, what you think we're going to be saying in 1 year about this experiment?
I think we'll be quite okay with it. Although I do think that if we hire a new person, I definitely think we're going to have the discussion, like, should this guy make the same amount of money or girl as we do? And then we're probably going to be coming up with some random solutions in between, like maybe a temporary contract or, you know, just like, I mean, someone has to prove himself first, I guess. So in terms of like for this team currently, I think next year from now we'll be, you know, quite content with it. But yeah, it depends if we're going to hire a lot of new people. Yeah, how it's going to pan out.
I was going to say it depends on how this all year pans out to be for everyone. So we might actually be quite content with it, or
or the company is dead, you mean?
Well, that can be an outcome. I hope not, but it's still possible.
No,
right?
definitely
for sure. Yeah.
I don't know. What is your prediction?
Yeah, I think we're going to change the bonus part a bit. Like,
what you mean?
I think
stop doing it, or
no, I don't think we should stop doing it. I think it's going to be enforced. No, not enforced, but upped a bit. Like, really make it worth it somehow.
You mean like because the monthly value we chose is not high enough?
I don't think it's high enough for people to actually make that extra mile. At least that's how it seems right now. So I think we're going to tweak on that.
So how much, let's say, if you just look at yourself, how much would it be for you to really say like, okay, man, I'm going to spend like a Friday night, do extra stuff for the company, or like reach out to someone and get something done for the company? Like how high should it be for you to really be motivated?
Actually, it's kind of funny because for me, it doesn't work that way.
Exactly. It could be $1,000 and still you'd be like,
yeah,
don't really need it.
Because I more need the intrinsic motivation to do it than the actual money for it.
I don't think the money is a motivation, right? I think the money is just like your colleagues recognize what you did and then they just give it to you like for a representation. I don't think.
Yeah, okay,
I don't think
but then why even do it?
Exactly for that, because if I give you a kudos, hey, Arno, well done. Like you're probably gonna ignore it. But if I give you a little bit of money, you take it. Doesn't matter the value. And I think the lower the value, actually, I think the better.
So cup of coffee, man.
Sure.
There is a saying in Macedonian that goes something like, "You don't live from thank yous." Yeah. So it's kind of that. I mean, I agree with him. Hey, you're not doing it for the money, but the money comes as a recognition. It's like, hey, we've noticed this. This is quite nice, and
Yeah, but why even the money then? You could just say it, right?
No, but that's the thing. Like if I tell you, and we try to do this all the time, right? Like give praises to each other, like well done. But I think you just need like the reward, like the trophy. Maybe we shouldn't give the money, but like a night out in a restaurant with your partner or with your kids. The thing is we chose a value, but I don't think the value matters. I think what matters is the reward thing. And then I think you're gonna, let's say if we give you a dinner, very likely you're gonna go with your wife, and then you're gonna remember like, oh yes, that was the dinner I went with my wife that my colleagues gave it to me. Yeah. And it has like an emotional feeling attached to it.
Yeah. I think the gifts part is actually kind of funny to do. So that's going to be the change for next year. Yeah. Somebody's going to be gifted a whole year of toilet paper.
Wow, I think it can be fun.
Thanks for your work.
Is that a motivation thing, or is it a negative? Maybe like, you did shit this month.
Maybe that's even better. Huh?
Yeah, improve yourself.
Horrible month. Here you go.
We haven't even started with this monthly incentives, and we're already changing it. My God, it doesn't get more agile than this.
And what is your prediction, Pancha?
I think we'll still be here. I think we're still gonna like it. If things go really well, I think everybody's gonna be quite happy with how things pan out. I'm just, what I said earlier also is like I'm worried what this means overall for the health of the company and what it means on short term and long term. So that's more where my thoughts are. But in a year, I think we're gonna like it. The challenge would be still, I think Rolf already mentioned it, hiring a new person. How would that pan out?
Yeah,
and I'm quite curious. It's all exciting to be a part of and to try it out. And
so you think you guys are gonna check the worth with them? Like, okay, you meet a guy and he's a meteor, and you're like, okay.
Yes, I think so. I think that's.
Will you drop him?
I think that's gonna be indeed like after this conversation, because I really haven't thought about it. I really believe that the hardest part of this whole thing is actually be a new hire. I think we are already quite strict, and it's gonna make us even more.
Yeah.
I'm having some technical issues.
No, I can still hear you. That's all good.
We're here.
But I don't dare to refresh.
Don't do that.
Browser.
Just keep talking.
Don't
it's okay.
Because I'm hearing you guys over the speakers somehow.
Oh, we hear you fine.
We're hearing you quite well.
Do you see? I think Rolf shouldn't get the bonus this month.
No, of course not, man. He should get the toilet paper.
I mean, like, but it is interesting, right? Let's just talk a bit about this bonus scheme. Like, so this is how we want, right? Like, we have a fixed amount of money every month that we can give to our colleagues in a discussion that we do not know how it's going to happen. So I imagine it's going to be like, maybe in the end of the podcast, we're going to discuss 10 minutes and like, this guy got the bonus. But like, why to the person who did the best? Why not to the person who did the worst? Because probably he's the one who is needing more help.
Yeah, but the money is not the incentive
Well,
to
that's easy.
do more, right? Yeah, or everybody gets to do less, like, I don't need to do anything this month. It's all fine.
Okay, yeah, that's.
Do you need more reasons why not?
And like,
I
can
don't
we
think the bosses are
actually?
gonna like that.
Can you actually share the bonus?
No, man. There's just
you
one
share
employee
it?
of the month. That's it.
Okay. Oh, so you're gonna have a picture too,
Picture.
like employee of the
Yeah,
month,
of
like on
course, man.
McDonald's.
Yes.
Oh, we should.
Yeah, on the
We
website.
should put it
for sure.
on the background of our laptops or computers.
Okay, so that's a deal. So like, if you get the employee of the month, whatever we record the podcast, the person has a picture of one of us,
Yeah.
the employee of the month in the back.
But not for yourself, right? Because it's gonna be a bit
Awkward.
weird. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think I want to have your pictures in my place.
Why not, man? Bonding a team and everything.
Nah.
I'm gonna try and refresh the browser.
Oh my
Oh, boy.
Oh,
I'm not
that's
sure
how
what's
the
gonna happen,
podcast
but we'll
ended.
see.
Oh.
I don't think his recording works then.
Sorry?
Are you sure you're gonna upload the recording then if you do that?
No, man. This just let's then stop the podcast for today.
Yeah, I think it's fine, man. We should wrap it up.
Yeah.
Well then.
All right, yeah. I
wrapping
guess
up.
we can call it right here. I have no idea why my setup is behaving like it does right now. It never did before, but well, I guess technology. So yeah, what do you think? You can check out anchor.fm. You can actually leave us a message there. If you go to anchor.fm/FourScouts, you're going to be at our podcast page. And there is a message that says like plus, a button that says like plus and a message. And then you can actually record a voice message to us. So we would love to hear from you guys. What do you think about the last 10 episodes, including this one? And what do you think about equal salaries across the board? How does your company do it? We would love to hear from you. If you don't want to give a spoken message, you can always drop us an email at podcast@fourscouts.nl or at Twitter, and that's @FourScouts. All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Henrique, Arno, Panche, thanks for joining me here in the FourScouts studio.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Rolf.
And yeah, check you guys later. See ya.
Peace.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of ScoutCast, Roasting Marshmallows, with your host, Rolf Surd. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit FourScouts.nl and on Twitter @FourScouts. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time on ScoutCast, Roasting Marshmallows.